Tired of ads barging into your favorite news podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free news podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
It's Saturday, the 23rd of December. I'm Ciara Evans, and this was a week that saw the PPE scandal reappear, pressure mount on Israel, a mass shooting in Prague, and an eruption in Iceland.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
There's a new strain of COVID-19 sweeping through the nation this Christmas. It's called JN1 or Parola, and it's going to put extra pressure on the NHS that's already struggling. The government, though, is still dealing with the aftermath of the original pandemic through the COVID inquiry and as the scandal surrounding the supply of PPE just won't go away. Speaking of PPE, disgraced Tory peer Michelle Moon found herself back in the spotlight this week. She's been under fire for the past 2 years for her role in a pandemic PPE scandal after she recommended PPE company MedPro be awarded more than £200 million in government contracts. It later emerged Michelle and her husband Doug Barrowman stood to benefit from the £60 million profit the company made as a result. PPE MedPro is currently being sued for over £100 million by the UK government for allegedly supplying faulty goods. Last week the company released a YouTube documentary telling Michelle's side of the story where she maintained her innocence. But in an appearance on the BBC last weekend, she finally admitted to being a beneficiary of the money, although she still says she's done nothing wrong.
I can't see what we've done wrong. Doug and the consortium have simply delivered a contract, a delivery contract of goods.
Her husband Doug, who appeared alongside her, claims a government official attempted to bribe him to make a criminal investigation go away.
This individual asked me, would I pay more for the other matter to go away? I was absolutely gobsmacked. I'm clear in my mind what he was saying. He was asking me if I would pay more money for the NCA investigation to be called off.
The company at the centre of the row is called PPE MedPro and is being investigated by the National Crime Agency while Moan is on a leave of absence from the House of Lords. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says the government is also investigating the affair and so he can't say much more.
What I'd say is the government takes these things incredibly seriously, which is why they're pursuing legal action against the company concerned in these matters. That's how seriously I take it and the government takes it, but it is also subject to an ongoing criminal investigation.
She hit back on social media saying that everyone in government knew, including the Cabinet Office, that she was involved with the company, which led to Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer asking some pointed questions to Michael Gove. Meanwhile, it may be some time before she's back in her ermine robes as Tory peer Lord Callanan was taking a dim view of her approach to the truth.
That's a matter for her to decide what she does, but let's wait and see the outcome of the various court cases. I would hope that she would not be coming back to the House of Lords.
The actions of the Israeli military in Gaza came under the spotlight in the last week, firstly as they expressed deep sorrow after the IDF killed 3 of its own civilians who were mistakenly identified as a threat. Alon Shamirez, Samir El Talaqwa and Yotam Haim were abducted by Palestinian militant group Hamas on October 7th and have been held hostage for almost 70 days. All 3 were shot and killed by Israeli forces during combat in a neighbourhood north of Gaza City. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he's heartbroken.
When I was updated about this terrible tragedy, it was a real shock for me. They survived and they really died at that last moment, and then that catastrophe took place. It has broken my heart. It has broken the entire nation's heart.
Meanwhile, British Deputy PM Oliver Dowden says the government is urging both sides to show restraint.
We do continue to urge restraint, abiding with international law, and at the same time, on this wider ceasefire point, we're trying to ensure that we get as long a period of pauses in hostility to allow that aid in.
Then on Monday, reports emerged that an Israeli sniper had killed 2 women who had left a church where they were sheltering to go to the toilet. The action was condemned by the Archbishop of Westminster, the UK's most senior Catholic figure, but also by Pope Francis himself. He said that the actions of the military had gone beyond war and that this is terrorism. Former Israeli ambassador to the UK, Mark Regev, says there's no question of Israeli military targeting civilians and strongly rejected the reports.
We're talking about a combat area. There's exchanges of fire between Israeli forces and the Hamas terrorists. To say that Israel is deliberately targeting Christian worshippers, that's a terrible accusation that is unfounded.
The incident, along with the accidental killing of the 3 hostages last week, has seen a shift in tone in the UK, with both Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer now calling for a sustainable ceasefire. The US continues to support Israel, with US Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin in Tel Aviv, where he described American support for Israeli security as unshakable. But he too was emphasising the importance of protecting the civilian population.
Democracies are stronger and more secure when we uphold the law of war. Protecting Palestinian civilians in Gaza is both a moral duty and a strategic imperative.
13 aid agencies joined together on Thursday to appeal to US Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin to protect civilians in Gaza from Israeli attacks across the Gaza Strip. It comes as the official death toll for Palestinian civilians has hit 20,000 people. A new Security Council resolution has been crafted which focuses on aid and humanitarian access to Gaza, but the US blocked any reference to urgent suspension of hostilities. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer was in Estonia on Thursday visiting NATO troops, and he added his voice to the calls for a break in the fighting.
I do support a sustainable ceasefire and a return to the position we were in just a few weeks ago, where the hostilities did cease. That provided a foothold for a political process to actually resolve this in favour of a 2-state solution.
Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron was in Egypt meeting with Egyptian officials as the UK continues to work on ways to get more aid into Gaza as 2.3 million people face famine.
The UK is playing a very constructive role at trying to build consensus for a resolution which is effectively all about delivering humanitarian aid.
Russia's President Putin has formally been nominated as a candidate for the 2024 Russian presidential election, where he's won previous elections by a landslide. Monday also saw the EU prepare for a new 12th round of sanctions against Russia, focusing on Russia's diamond trade and seeking to close some of the loopholes that have allowed Russia to do deals with third countries. Ukrainian President Zelensky also had the EU on his mind as he looked forward to the process of Ukraine becoming a formal candidate country for European Union membership. They can expect objection and interference from Hungarian leader Viktor Orban, who remains closely aligned with Putin, but Zelensky said his country is ready for the challenge.
In the coming days, Ukraine and the European Commission will formally begin the screening process to assess the correspondence of Ukrainian legislation with EU legislation. The negotiation process will not be easy, but the important thing is that we already have historical certainty. Ukraine will always be part of our common European home.
Tuesday saw Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky give his annual end-of-year press conference, and he was putting a positive spin on what has been an increasingly tough year. He said he's confident that the US won't betray us and that more aid will come, but he also predicted that an additional 500,000 Ukrainian troops may need to be mobilised. He remains determined to win the war, much like Russian President Vladimir Putin, who spoke in Moscow on Tuesday. He was busy insisting that Russia will not give up what is ours, and he continued to attempt to rewrite the history of how the war started.
We had no choice but to support Crimea, otherwise there would have been a massacre there. But then the problem of Donbas arose, and we calmly tried to come to an agreement.
Ukraine's hopes of getting fresh US military and financial aid in their battle against Russia appear to be frozen until the beginning of 2024. The US Senate has been working on a deal which would see aid for Israel and Ukraine, along with new plans to boost US border security. But negotiators have not been able to come to an agreement before the Christmas break. With ammunition and equipment running low, it could be a tough start to the year for Ukraine. And NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg was urging negotiators to get to a deal as soon as they can.
I continue to count on the United States and the US Congress to agree a substantial package for Ukraine, because this is not charity. This is not only something we do to support Ukraine. We do it because it is an investment in our own security.
There was a mass shooting in Prague in the Czech Republic on Thursday afternoon. It's a highly unusual event in Chechnya. In fact, it's only the third in the last 10 years. A student at the Charles University in the centre of the city appears to have carried out a premeditated attack, and police say he had significant quantities of ammunition. He killed at least 14 people, injuring 25 more, 10 of those seriously, before police stormed the building and eliminated him, although it's not clear precisely what happened. The shooter's father had been found dead earlier on Thursday, and police say there's no connection with any international terrorism. Prime Minister Petr Fiala addressed the nation after the attack and declared a national day of mourning on Saturday.
Dear fellow citizens, let us now think of those who have lost their loved ones and for whom this Christmas will be unimaginably sad. At this difficult time, we should come together with our consideration, honour and mutual understanding to show our respect for the victims of this brutal crime.
Still to come on the Standout 7, Donald Trump clocks up more court dates and Julia Roberts wants to borrow a fag.
Right after this.
Tired of ads barging into your favorite news podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free news podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Welcome back.
The last thing Donald Trump needed was another high-profile legal defeat, but he made headlines worldwide on Wednesday after the Colorado Supreme Court ruled he should be barred from the presidential ballot in the state. The case was taken under the 14th Amendment of the US Constitution, which bars those who have engaged in insurrection or rebellion from holding political office. Trump lashed out immediately on Truth Social and has until January 4th to lodge an appeal to the US Supreme Court. Sean Grimsley is representing the Colorado voters who took the case against Trump, and he's optimistic about their chances in front of the US Supreme Court.
So he's first going to have to convince the Supreme Court to take it. And once he convinces the Supreme Court to take it, I do think we have a good shot on the substance. We've got good, strong findings of fact from a district court, and I think on the legal issues, we're very strong.
Iceland's latest volcano finally erupted on Tuesday, spraying lava high into the air in footage that flooded social media. The dramatic eruption had been expected for a while, and residents of the town of Grundavik have been safely evacuated. There's been a pollution warning for residents of the capital Reykjavik, but it's not expected that the eruption will cause anything like the worldwide flight chaos of previous Icelandic volcanoes. Haraldur Sigurdsson is an Icelandic volcanologist, and he says that as eruptions go, it's all gone pretty well.
It certainly is a problem, but fortunately, this is in a fairly remote area, so it's not an explosive eruption. It's not going to impact aviation, but it produces a lot of lava, so it's adding to Iceland. Iceland is building up all the time.
The BBC's America correspondent Katty Kay has a new in-depth news show where she speaks at length to interesting people including Wendell Pierce, dancer Misty Copeland and author Ken Follett. It's called Influential, and she's just sat down with Downton Abbey star Hugh Bonneville at the Globe Theatre. He chatted about his love of Shakespeare, his role in Paddington, and told some stories about what it was like working with American superstar Julia Roberts on the set of Notting Hill back in the days when you could smoke on set.
Literally on the day she arrived, everyone stopped smoking. Suddenly there was no... And she came in, I remember her coming in and saying, hi, and she was wearing, jeans and a T-shirt. I thought, A, she's stunning, of course, she's got this amazing radiance about her, but also she's just completely normal, she's one of us. And first thing she said was, anyone have a cigarette? So out came 5 packets of Silk Cut.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes, and we'll give you the world.
Tired of ads barging into your favorite news podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free news podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.